Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to MSM, the lesson today. We're so excited you can join us. And if you haven't noticed by my pug sweatshirt, we are so close to Christmas. If you're watching this on Sunday, that means we're only a few more days away from Christmas. And that's an amazing feeling. It's also a scary feeling because this year's gone by so fast, but some of us kind of wanted it to go by that fast because it's been crazy. So without further ado, let's dive into this week's lesson, right? So we're in a series called Merry Christmas to Me. And this week, our big idea is on the first Christmas, the wise men gave their worship. So going through it, on the first Christmas, Mary and Joseph gave up their comfort. Second week was on the first Christmas, the shepherds gave their stories. And on the first Christmas, the wise men gave their worship today. So I want you to flip over to Matthew 2. Matthew 2, verses 1 through 7. It says this: Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem asking, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews?" They're talking to King Herod. "We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this, as was everyone in Jerusalem. He called a meeting of the leading priests and teachers of religious law and asked, "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" "In Bethlehem in Judea," they said, "for this is what the prophet wrote. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not least among the ruling cities of Judah. For a ruler will come from you, who will be the shepherd for my people Israel." Then Herod called for a private meeting with the wise men, and he learned from them the time when the star first appeared. So these wise men, they're the other word for it, another word for these people that we call wise men, right, are magi. So they're the magi. So there's a few things that we don't know about the magi. So one of them is how many of them actually visited Jesus. We kind of keep it to 3. So our go-to number is 3. But we actually don't know how many were there. There were probably more than 3. We don't know their names, how old they were, or exactly where they came from. But that's okay. We don't even know how they learned about the star that guided them to Jesus. We can speculate that they knew the scriptures and they put the scriptures up with their astrology knowledge, because these were very intelligent and wise men. But we don't know, and that's okay. But what we do know is that they were scholars. Based on their studies and readings, they understood that a king was going to be born and that he would change everything. See, they lined up the scripture with what they knew about the world and the earth and space and what they could already see. They somewhat knew how to find Jesus. They knew they were astrologers, astrologists, whatever. They studied the stars, and so they knew where they were being led. And they brought gifts with them, really expensive gifts. These men were important. They were wealthy and intelligent, but when they learned this new king had been born, they knew they had to go and honor him. Let's flip over to Matthew 2, 11 through 12. So just right where you were, just skipping a little bit on to it. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother, Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasure chests and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. When it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. So quickly, that last line, Herod wanted to kill Jesus. He wanted to make sure that there was no king that was going to come and overthrow him. Harsh times. But this is what they dealt with for the first few years of their lives. I mean, probably all years as people were trying to come and kill Jesus. So they brought gifts to them. So I want you to think about What in my life, what can I bring to Jesus? Right? I don't know about you guys if you just have some gold laying around and you can throw it up to the heavens and give it to Jesus. But they brought gold, right? Gold is an extremely valuable, precious metal. They brought frankincense, which is a resin. It was taken from boswellia trees, and it was often made to use perfumes, and it had medicinal uses. So it was a gift for a god. It was a healing type of thing. It was a gift for a god, right? Gold was a gift for a king. Frankincense was a gift for a god. And then the last one, myrrh, was like frankincense, is a resin taken from a different plant. It was commonly used in perfumes, but this gift was significant because it was often used to prepare a body for burial. This was a gift that symbolized death. The gifts that were brought were actually beautiful because they symbolized a king, a god, and Jesus dying for us. And that's beautiful. Guys, in the first Christmas, right, they weren't as it looks like in the manger scene. They weren't there at the birth, but they came after, the wise men. But they came and they gave their worship. As we wrap up, I want you to think about these questions. What is worship? See, worship can be seen in many different lights. Worship is about rejoicing in what Jesus has done or has given us. So our gifts and opportunities that we get on this earth, and we rejoice by using them for God's glory, by thanking Him, by talking to Him, right? How do we worship? We worship God through words and actions. Words as in prayer, singing, loving others with our words and our actions, using our gifts in their intended forms, and doing good things for others, giving our time and resources. And why do we worship? I want to go to 1 Corinthians 10:31. It says, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God." We are called to worship and glorify God with all we have. We are not called to worship Him perfectly. We are called to love God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. Guys, if you haven't heard it already, your life can glorify God with all you do. All you need to do is give God the glory and live and be merry. This time we say Merry Christmas a lot. You ever thought about what merry means? To be merry is to be happy and joyful and rejoice in Christmas. Rejoice in the knowledge that Christ is coming again. And we got a glimpse of what that looked like when he came down and was born into fully man, fully human. I challenge you to worship God in different ways this week. Rejoice, pray, tell others about Him. Thanks, guys. See ya.